Well, foremost, I'd like to say hello, teacher. My name's Nhe Nara, and I'm a weekend session student. And today I'm going to present to you about my final oral presentation, which is about the shorter version of from chapter 1 to chapter 9. Okay, so let's start. Here's my contents. In this presentation, I'm gonna present you all the 9 chapters in shorter version. Okay, chapter 1, the nature of communication. 2, the phonological components. 3, the phonological components or phonology. 4, the morphological component. 5, the syntax. 6, symmetrics and pragmatics. 7, social linguistics and linguistics, anthropology. 8, language acquisition. And the last one, sign language. Okay, so the purpose here, this presentation is to summarize the chapters and make them shorter, easy to understand the main concepts of each chapter from chapter 1 to chapter 9. Okay, let's start from chapter 1. Chapter 1, the nature of communication. As you know, everybody uh, are born in the world to communicate with other people. Like me, I can communicate with another person, or sometimes groups of people, or sometimes the individuals. Okay, we do the communication through written and unwritten words or language. Okay, that's called linguistic. Linguistic is the systematic study of language in all of its form. Communication is the act of communicating one's thoughts, feelings, attitudes, or experiences with individual or groups of people. Communication is delivered through words, gestures, symbols, signs, or other forms of transmission. So here, the communication we can deliver from words, like I'm talking about, I'm speaking. Gesture, like we use the gesture, our activities, or symbols and signs. Non-human animal communication can be complex. The animal communication can be complex because they are not like human. Human being or the people, we can communicate through words, or we can communicate directly, easily. But for the animal, they aren't or they can't. Non-human communication is heavily reliant on stimuli. Stimuli is the causes that make the animals to communicate. Okay. The exposure to a stimuli causes a signal to be released. The human language is devoid of stimuli, mean that the stimuli can't cause the human to communicate. Okay. The capacities of our minds are the only thing restricting what we can talk about. While some of these categorizations are based on their cultural values and information. A question has been asked then, will our closest animal relatives or the apes learn to communicate the language? You know, the scientists that time they do the analyzation on the apes. Will those animals can learn to communicate? The science believes that they can, like the Voshu, Coco, the apes, and other primates have mastered that and used non-oral structures to demonstrate their linguistic abilities. Okay, let's see the picture on the right side or the right corner. This is the app. They are making the communication with each other with the apps. Okay, and here the owner and the apps they made a communication. So others accuse that the app's language study designs and assumptions are invalid because it can be examined 100% that the apps can communicate well like the people or the human being. Others who previously dismissed the work of app language researchers now admit that apps and other animals might be able to learn to communicate using certain aspects of language. We could not expect the apps to understand and follow all human activities. Like the apps learn the language from the owner, but all the activities the owner always do like identically, like the same day by day, the same, and then they learn from that. But not all the activity that the app can learn. They can learn just some of it, some of those. Okay, let's move to chapter 2. The phonological component, or we know as, or is known as the phonetics. The study of sounds used in speech is known as phonetics. It's divided into three fields, semi-interdependent. Okay, they are acoustic phonetics, auditory phonetics, articulatory phonetics. Like you see in the picture here, the phonetics divide, okay, it's divided into three: acoustic properties, auditory perception, articulation. What those components are, or what do they mean? Okay, articulatory phonetics refer to the study of how people make speech sounds, how they make the sounds in the speech. Speech is one of these natural events that is essentially constant. An airstream is the source of speech sounds. When the vocal folds cause the airstream to vibrate, the airstream can be altered. As a result, a voice sound is produced. Okay, when the airstream altered, the voice is produced. Okay, acoustic phonetics. It is referred to it refers to the branch of phonetics dealing with the transmission of sounds to the ear and then reception of them by the ear prior to neurological processing. Okay. And what is auditory phonetics? They refer to the study of how humans perceive the sounds. The human can perceive the sound by the ear. Okay. What is heard is analyzed physiologically to learn more of the functioning of human ears, nerve, and brain. They are essential separate mental elements of speech in addition to the phones or phonetics part. Okay, so let's move and start chapter 3. Chapter 3, it is about the phonological components or phonology. The science of phonetics is concerned with the nature of speech sounds. So the phonetics is concerned with the speech sound. And what is the nature of the speech sound? Phonology is concerned with factors embedded in language as a structure. For example, like the intrinsic structures that organize speech sounds. Okay, so this chapter will begin with the discussion of the phoneme principles. Phonetic transcriptions, or we can say the narrow transcriptions, capture as much information as possible. Here you can see, okay, the T sound or the T tone, okay, like T, th, t, th, okay, ch, ch, da, okay, like this. As some of the forms we can create the T tone. Or look at the phonemic chart here. Yes, the sound that we can deliver the sound like use o like this. Okay, for example, like e. green, 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 green. P or e, pink. O, wood, wood. Okay. U, blue. E, clear. A, gray. Okay. Okay. A, red. Uh, okay. Silver or silver. Okay. Like this, from that. Okay. Till owl. Okay. Owl. Okay. This is the phonetic transcription or the phonemic chart that we can make the sound by using this. Okay. Chapter 3 again. A phoneme is a mental representation of the sound. A sign language physical sounds or signals may be interpreted as the same or different phonemes. The use of many more pairs and sets in the one we've spoken about. Many more pairs and sets are utterances that include the following. The number of sound segments is the same. Second, there is only distinction in terms of phonetics. Third, this distinction can be seen in all forms at the same time, and there is a distinction of meaning. Okay, for the T sounds mentioned above, there are no minimal pairs or sets in English. As a result, T will be the phonetic equivalent of both of these T sounds. All non-distinctive characteristics have been removed in this case. Language is governed by rules. What does it mean? Language is governed by rules because the language we have, um, to learn a language with the grammatical usage, the exact grammatic, called uh, exact grammars like this. This is governed by the rules, exact rules from the grammar. The analysis of the rules that regulate the combination of phonemes, as well as the examination of how phonemes work in language, is referred to phonology. So phonology is the regulation or the combination of the phonemes, like uh, the examination of the language. Linguistics display linguistic rules using a variety of notational conventions. These notational systems facilitate the writing of rules and the recognition of patterns. Let's move to another point. Some aspects of language, such as the aspiration of an English voiceless stop before a stressed vowel, are predictable. Language features that are predictable are often known as redundant features. Redundancy is considered inefficient. Redundancy is not inefficient in terms of vocabulary. It has a message to be understood through, though there is a lot of static. Okay. Okay, it's an this of the chapter 3. Now let's start the chapter 4. The four morphological component, or okay, what is phonology again? Phonology is the study of language sound structure. Okay, a phoneme has no meaning in and of itself. Phonemes, on the other hand, may be strung together in precise rule-governed ways to create meaningful language units. Morphology is the study of how morphemes are combined to form words. We have three morphemes, bound and two morphemes, bound and three morphemes. They are the two primary forms of morphemes. Let's look at the picture here. Um, we have bound morphemes on the right and free morphemes on the left. Okay, free morpheme refer to morpheme that can stand alone as the word, okay, like dog, gentle, picture, gym, cat, table, like this, a lot, etc. And Balmorphisms is divided into derivational and inflectional. Derivational is divided into prefix and suffixes. Prefix like the, okay, pre, in, inappropriate, unpredictable, unexpected, okay, like this. Or suffix like un, li, able, like this, okay, like production, okay, like this. Friendly, understandable, or teacher, like this, okay. Suffixes plural like plus s, ing, or ed, like this. Okay, let's move. Um, the relational and inflectional bound morphemes are both possible. When the rhyme morphemes are added to an expression, they modify its context or part of speech. Grammatical features of inflectional morphemes include converting a singular noun to a plural, like by um, okay, adding s like this. The way morphemes are used in language can be used to classify them. Words are single morphemes in analytic language. Okay, bound morphemes are attached to root morphemes in syntactic language to modify meaning or mark grammatical rule. Morphonemics is the study of morphology and phonology, which are also interested in subconscious decisions. Compounding, combining, acronym forming, foreign words borrowing, creeping, derivation, back, formation, using proper names, and using direct names are all common methods for creating new terms. Okay, so these components are the ways or the method to um, creating the new words or the new terms of the words. Okay, like here we can compound the word to make the new words, or we can combine two different words to make the new words, like compounding, like compound noun, like this. Okay, based on their context, how they work in a sentence, how they are inflected, and other factors, words may be classified into types and subtypes. One method for doing so is to divide terms into lexical groups. So the terms of the word can be divided into lexical groups, like divided into part of speech. Okay, lexical groups mean part of speech. Okay, so now let's start the chapter 5 about the syntax. What does syntax mean? Syntax is a branch of grammar that deals with the order in which words and morphemes are used to create sentences. Now let's see the picture here. This is called syntax. Okay, like we can analyze the sentence or each words in a sentence about a function, like function as noun, adjective, noun phrase, verb phrase, or determiner, like this. We can examine or analyze the word. The structures, communication, and external actions are dealt with by syntax. Prescriptive syntax. What is it? It is known as the prescriptive grammar that refers to the idea that there is a right and wrong way to speak, right or sign. Transformational or generative grammar is a model of syntax that um, contains a finite set of rules and could theoretically generate an infinite number of utterances. A sentence is a grammatically complete string of words that concludes at least two components, a subject and a predicate. Okay, so here a sentence means that can be includes at least two components, subject and predicate. Subject like um, the sky is raining. So the sky is subject. What is predicate? Predicate is it's raining. So predicate means that a statement or argument about the subject. Okay, it's raining. It is the argument that complete the sentence. What is argument? Arguments are the important elements of a sentence that help the predicate's meaning to be completed. Okay. Um, Adjuncts are sentence components that are optional. Now let's see the four sentences. What are they? The first one is simple sentence, a sentence with only one subject and one predicate. For example, like the dog bolted. Okay, the dog bolted. So the subject is the dog, and bolted is predicate. This is called simple sentence because it includes only two, the subject and the predicate. Okay, the second sentence is a compound sentence. Compound sentence made up of at least two simple sentences connected by a coordinating conjunction of fan voice. Okay, for example, like the dog and the cat bolted. So the dog and the cat bolted. This is the simple sentence, like the dog bolted, the cat bolted, and combined together with the word and, okay, coordinating conjunction of and voice. So the dog and the cat bolted as one sentence called compound sentence. Second, a complex sentence made up of one or more independent clauses and a simple sentence. Example, although it is tempting, I will not be going to Las Vegas. Okay, so this is one or more independent. So although it is tempting, dependent, I will not be going to Las Vegas. Independent. Okay, together, complex sentence. A compound complex sentence, two or more separate clauses and at least one dependent clause make up. For example, like many students were surprised when the instructor assigned the exam reading, but they agreed to learn. Like we see, but they agreed to learn, they can stand. It can stand alone, so dependent. Okay, when the instructor assigned the exam reading, dependent. Many students were surprised. You can stand by itself. So it's independent. Okay. In addition, the passive voice is more verbose, with more nouns and prepositional phrase. The active form of the sentence is less wordy and verb than the passive version. The head of the phrase is the word that determines the syntax or phrasal category of the phrase. We have noun phrase, adjective phrase, verb phrase, adverb phrase, prepositional phrase, as well as the determinants. Okay, the like this. Okay, so we have like noun phrase, adjective phrase to form a sentence. In a sentence can include this phrase, okay, into in order to make the sentence. Okay. Mr. Chomsky Linguistics has spawned many obfuscates, and Chomsky himself made changes to his earlier theories, such as substituting other terms for deep and surface structure. The end of chapter 5, let's start at chapter 6. Okay, I'm gonna explain briefly. Semantics mean that the study of meaning. We have the word and then the study of meaning. What that word means when it is delivered from one's mouth. A person's brain has a lexicon or a dictionary that contains the meanings of all the words they know. Each word's reference is a concrete entity or abstract idea to which it refers. Semantic properties are the components of meaning that make up the speaker's mental pictures of the phrase. For example, like when I said like the dog, so we are thinking about the picture or the image, what that looks like. Oh, that the dog, it has one tail and four legs like this. Okay, so this is about the semantics. Hyphens, synonyms, homonyms, and antonyms are words that are identical in meaning or sound to each other. Hyphens, okay, the same. Synonyms are words that have similar meanings and have the same semantic properties. Like synonym have the same meaning but different words. Different words have the same meaning and the same properties. Like when I said the dog or the pup means a small dog, but that means the same. Okay, the dog. Okay, the pups or puppies like this. Synonyms share the same denotation, dictionary definition, but have different connotations or the meaning shades, like different meaning. Homonyms or homophones vary from synonyms in that they sound the same but have somewhat different meanings. Okay, the same sound but different meaning. Like I say, the sea, sea mean that the sea or the river with the salty. Okay, but when I say I see, see mean that I understand. Okay, so different meaning but the same sound. Polysemous terms are words that have many meanings. Antonyms are words that have the opposite meaning and are known as complementary pairs, gradable pairs, or relational opposites. Okay. Pragmatics. What is pragmatics? The semantics we have known. Now pragmatics, the study of how sense and meaning interact in the everyday use of language. Speakers offer an utterance social significance by using specific terms or phrases that reveal more about themselves than the relevant reference. Okay, so let's start our chapter 7. Yes, let's go quickly. A language. Okay, about it. Sociolinguistics and linguistics anthropology. A language community's members live, work, socialize, and communicate in a dialect or a variety of their native tongue. In the United States, Standard American English is the British dialect. In the United Kingdom, BBC English is the British dialect. Semantic, syntactics, and phonological variation are all present in regional dialects. African American English is a term used to describe the various dialects of English spoken by African Americans in various parts of the United States. People make assumptions about others based on the dialect they speak, so regional dialects have a social significance. Like people, every nations, every language has its dialects, and people likely are likely to speak those dialects according to their region. Okay, yes. um, African American English features are sometimes misinterpreted as incorrect English. However, it is rule governed, following its distinct phonological rules that include a rule for or and L deletion, a final consonant deletion rule. Morpho tone, tonicization, nisation, and modification of the interdependent fricatives. Okay, like the. Okay, when people from different cultures meet, touch language help them communicate more effectively. A widely spoken second language has the potential to become a lingua franca. Pidgin languages are condensed language created for particular interactions. Their vocabulary is derived from the substrate language, but their syntactic characteristics are derived from the substrate language. A pidgin language becomes a Creole language when it is learned as a first language by the next generation, a phenomenon known as nativization. The way men and women use language is different because they are different, like by genetics or like everything they're different, so the way they use language is different. Females use casual speech less than males in English. They are much more likely than men to use indirect words, the polite query and take questions, like uh, they don't say directly to the words, like uh, beat around the bush. They rarely go directly to the meaning, but they always do like this for the females. Men converse more often and for longer in mixed discussion groups. They often interrupt other speakers more often than women, changing the topic or redirecting the discussion. This is the way what men always do to interrupt others. Linguistic anthropology is a branch of cultural anthropology that investigates how language is used in daily life and how it is incorporated into different cultures around the world. The theory of cultural relativism is that a society is consistent and understandable within itself. Linguistic relativism, the notion that each language is coherent and comprehensible within itself and must be learned as a separation system, is closely related. The Wolf theory suggested that people from different cultures think and act differently as a result of the language they speak. So every people they don't say the same language. Also, that means they don't act the same way because they're from the same different culture. So sometimes they what sometimes the same language but cannot mean uh, the same 100% because they are from different regions. So sometimes the meaning is different as well. Yes. Okay, let's start at chapter 8, language acquisition. Learning a foreign language fluently is one of the most daunting academic achievements an adult can make. It's almost effortless for a boy, happens at a specific age and in a specific order. Human beings um, peculiar adaptation to living in a community and is closely linked to the evolution of the large human brain. The culmination of around 2 million years of hominin evolution. Many linguists claim that language capacity is inherent in humans and that children's brains are hardwired to learn language from birth. The laws of the language seem to be extracted by children using their natural language skills. Babies begin calming and then babbling within a few months of birth. So the children they learn from the birth, as as always. Children begin speaking one-word utterances, known as hollows. About the age of 1 year, this period of language learning is known as the holophrastic stage. Children reach the two-word stage around the age of 18 months, where they combine terms like agent action, action object, processor procession, a possession, and action location. Babies show that they grasp the meaning of words by looking at the items or person described as early as 6 months of age. So when the babies they are 6 months of age, they always like point to the pictures and describe that pictures like this is called cup or called books like this, and they are touched by their environment like the people or their parents, their relatives. Their active vocabulary will be about 14,000 words by the age of 6. Wow, this is a lot, but compared to the world, this is just a part of the words. Okay, children are socialized through their community by the use of vocabulary that is based on the culture's values and ideas. So they learn the language through their cultures and their society. The society and the culture teach those words to them, like I mentioned earlier, like the environment. Okay. Now about the deaf children and the deaf parents. They learn sign language in the same manner as hearing. Children of deaf parents learn spoken language, going through the same states. Hearing children of deaf parents learn both their parents' sign language and the community spoken language. So the deaf children from the deaf parents, they learn the language by sign, like they do gesture. Okay, but I don't know how to do this, but like they do the gesture to understand the words from their environment. They start by babbling both verbally and physically. After puberty, learning a language is an academic process that includes pronunciation, practice, grammar lessons, and vocabulary memorization. After adolescence, the foreign accent of second language learners stems from the fossilization of first language characteristics. The second language is stored in a separate idea of the brain from the first. The fossilization of first language features, or we can say phonological system, morphology, and syntax. In the second language produces pronunciation and grammatical errors, which accounts for much of the difficulty encountered in learning the second language. So learning the second language, the learners encounter a lot of things that those can consider as the difficulties because the other language they are not our mother tongue or our language, so very difficult to learn. Okay, let's start our last lesson or chapter, sign language. What is sign language? You can see the picture here, like the house, do like this, the sign like this, call the house, okay? Brother, like this, brother, okay? Pay like this, you can see the picture. So these activities are called sign language. The communication using visual gestures and signs as always used by deaf people. Okay, deaf people always use this sign language. Only those with severe brain injury, psychosis, and trauma are unable to learn or retain language skills. The term deaf and dumb has a negative connotation. The words dumb have two general meanings, mean that mute and not light. When they're mute, they can't hear, and when they light, they can't see. No light, they can't see. Okay. Many people believe that people who are deaf are mentally retarded. Okay. One way to communicate linguistic competence is through speech. Another is through signing. Besides speaking, we can communicate with the other by signing. For example, like in the library, and then all the people needed to be quiet. So when you want your friend to um, like open the book for you from the place to place, you can gesture, you can do the sign like this, or you can tell everybody around you. by using sign language. Second, there is a deep desire to connect linguistically. When one linguistic distribution road is closed, humans will seek out another. Third, the fundamental concepts of phonology, morphology, grammar, and semantics in signing and oral language are strikingly close. In two sentences, summarize all of the preceding statements. First, the ability to communicate in humans is the result of anatomical and neurological specialization that evolved during the evolution of hominins. Second, its ability is independent of speech and hearing. The structure of sign language is determined by a number of variables. Hand form, sign position, sign movement, palm orientation, the region of the hand and touches the body, hand orientation with respect to each other, and non-manual signals are among them. So sign language, there are different forms to make the sign language. They are variables because there are lots. Sometimes we can touch the people to tell them the sign language. Sometimes we can do the gesture from um, one side to do the sign to tell them. Okay, so this is sign language and many forms to go to study. Okay. Morphemes, minimal pairs, clauses, and sentences can all be graded using these parameters. Okay, so come up with my conclusion here. These all nine chapters of is almost focused on the linguistics or the way to study language and the communication between the people to the individuals or between the people to the groups. Okay, like this, and it's come to the end. And thank you so much, teacher, for your attention listening to my presentation. This is my final presentation, and thank you so much for this term that you provide me a lot of knowledge, more knowledge on this term. And yes, thank you so much.